Below is an in-depth look into its abilities, reviews, use case, and what people are building with it, and how to use it and set it up. So it's an autonomous task execution. Sounds really exciting. I mean, the reviews and the I signed up. You have to get on kind of uh, you have to go to the website, and I'll put it on the in the purple pill. But the way you get Magus AI is you go to the website and you Magus, you go to the website and then you apply, and then they will tell you when you get it. I've applied. I have not gotten my approval to use it yet, so I'm going to try some other emails and say some other things to see if maybe that I didn't give a strong enough reason. But it's manus.im is the website, and this is AI John Allen and Andy Wergadal. Is that the correct pronunciation, Andy?
You got it.
Perfect. And so if you go to the Magus site, it says get started on it, and then you have to prove that you're a human, and it has an invitation code. And so what you have to do is apply for access. And once you apply for access, you put in your email and what have you, and you say, how can Magus help you? And I'm going to use a different email and see if I can say something that will make them give me access quicker, because the other email didn't really work. So Magus can independently perform complex tasks such as buying real estate, booking vacations, coding video games, analyzing financial reports, screening job candidates, and recommending living locations based on user preference. Real world problem solving excels in practical applications, reportedly surpassing OpenAI's deep research on the GAIA benchmark with a 95% success rate on multiple tasks. Web interaction, scours the internet, compiles detailed reports, and can deploy functional websites from simple prompts. Yeah, I saw a video today of a guy getting Magnus to do all kinds of things, and they could shut his computer down and come back in. It's still doing it. Multimodal integration. It leverages Anthropic's 3.5, which is really one of the best LLMs out there. Blows Chat GPT out of the water, and a customized QWEN Quinn model from Alibaba, combining natural language understanding with robust decision making. Unlike traditional AI, Mangus autonomously decides how to approach tasks, making a leap towards artificial general intelligence. What do you think of that, Andy? It's I don't know if you've seen the videos about people using it, but it's really it blows you away. It blows me away.
Uh, Sounds interesting. So first of all, you said that it can do website. It can create websites. It can do video games. It can analyze all this other stuff. That's kind of cool. And then also, it's an agent or agentic kind of prescription thing, or maybe I said the wrong thing, but some kind of AGI, which of course is interesting. And then all of these things together and videos all in I've been out of town the last couple of days. I got in like really late last night. I got up this morning and just been working, trying to catch up with all the stuff I normally do till now. And so I don't even know. I'll have to look it up. I'm excited though. I love this stuff.
No, I'm actually working with someone now to develop an app, and it's my AI career coach, because I did a bunch of research and found that one of the biggest things that people are talking about online right now are concerns about people losing their jobs. And this is going to really accelerate it. I'm actually looking on X right now. It only says that there are two spaces going on right now. I'd love to hear from Jack to see. I think what we should do, Andy, is I'm going to directly DM a few people to let them know about this space. Um,
I Yeah, I have. I've already sent a bunch of DMs and live stream links like usual. So we'll see if anybody joins, but it looks like it looks like we have a couple people on. We have you. We have the AI Biz Hour. Oh, we had Jack. Jack's joined, and then somebody who was on before isn't. You know what? How about this, John? It doesn't matter who's listening. Eventually, in the future, someone's going to hear a recording. Let's just pretend like there's nobody. There's a giant list of people, and we'll just do our show for the next 45 minutes, and we'll just go back and forth as if it's just you and I, chit chatting and stuff. And if somebody wants to join us, fantastic. And if not, no worries. Maybe they can't. Maybe they're all going to have to listen to the replay later.
yes, and Jack, if you want to chime in, you're more than welcome. I'd be curious to see how you found out about us. Today is a day of disruption. Monday, March 10th, the day that X got disrupted. This is going to go down as like not War of the Worlds, but you know,
Eh,
when everybody freaked out. But I don't. Yeah, I'm not. Not everybody's freaking out. That's
Well, I'm not freaking out.
but Magus might make us a little. Well, I mean, I don't. You got to check out the videos when you see what this thing can do. It's autonomous. So it's basically autonomous AI agent that. Let's. I'll get into the reviews and we'll hear about it. So
Yeah.
reviews, positive feedback. Tech writer Rowan Cheng called Mangus mind blowing after it created a biography and personal website in under 10 minutes on its own. Users praise its ease and speed. Expert opinions, AI researcher Dr. Lou Wee compared it favorably to Western models, noting its superior autonomy, but cautioning about scalability limits. So you might be able to do some cool things with it, but the idea that you're going to scale it up to a million users by building on it might not be the case. Criticisms. Ethics worry about its lack of oversight. With
Oh, please. You know what? Well, I don't think we ever need to hear about ethics and people worrying about guide rails and boundaries and misinformation. Every time they mention that, that to me is a giant BS. Like it's like pulling on the stupid string, right? Oh, I made a new engine. Oh my God. Are we going to make sure that we don't give it to teenagers? Yeah, shut up with that stuff. I mean, seriously. Every single person says that. It's just a giant bunch of garbage. You If you want to go to the moon, you're going to blow up some rockets. And if you're doing something that's new and different, all kinds of things are going to happen. So good or bad. But by the way, John, I'm not upset at you for saying it. I'm just saying every time they write that, it makes me just want to, it takes whatever they're saying from whatever level I think of that quality of the information down a notch because what what stupid editor is going to say, have we ever said, oh, you know what, you should use AI and here's the good one. Oh, but by the way, you got to be careful. Yeah, yeah, come
well,
on. This stuff is
people
just God makes me crazy.
people need clicks, and to get clicks, people make decisions on emotions. They don't make decisions on logic. So you got to get them emotional. So
Fair.
I'll finish that sentence.
Yeah,
Potential
sorry.
with potential risks including data breaches or unintended actions. MIT Technology reviewed. So unintended actions, you give it access to your computer, you say X, Y, and Z. Next thing you know, the little what do they call that? The machine elves. I don't know if you have ever done DMT, but supposedly there's an alternate reality that has these machine elves, and if you take DMT, you get to meet them and they might take over your computer when you're not looking, especially using Magus. So, use cases, business operations. Companies use Magus to automate financial analysis, screen applications, reducing time up to 30 minutes and managing workflows. Personal assistance, individuals rely on it for travel planning and lifestyle recommendations. Creative Development Magus has coded simple video games and built websites for small businesses deployed in hours. Research and analysis. It compiles reports, reviving human analysis, such as a 20-page market analysis in 15 minutes. Now, I can get that from Grok DeepThink. I mean, uh, that's the thing. Some of this is kind of hat tricks. You just, you can do it on multiple platforms. Maybe you can say, hey, write me a report every, 15 minutes, so you don't have to make the prompt and it'll do it. But what's the point of that? Jack, I see you got your hand up.
Yeah, hey John, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yep. Here you go. Hear you clear, very, very well.
Good. Yeah, so one of the things I thought was interesting about this is I had been interested in, you and I were working on those automated workflows through, tech in schools and whatnot. And with Claude's advancement and Claude Compute that allowed computer control, I was reading about this that on the back end, this thing was using Sonnet to do some of the work. And I'm just curious on you guys' thought on that. You just mentioned the parlor tricks, if you will, and I'm curious if that's really what this is, or is this essentially a true agentic workflow tool that will take all those pieces and put them together, where I just throw together what I want and it's going to create the whole process for me and do the work.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Finn, like 2 months ago, there was something that came out. It was through Llama, where you would create an agent that would take over your computer. And I put that together on my computer. But then you had to use Sonnet, and the fees it was like super expensive. I don't know if this is if there's fees attached to it or what have you, but if you use Claude to do, from my understanding, if you use Claude to do agentic stuff that you're not necessarily you're kind of messing around with it, there can be some pretty substantial fees. Have you looked into that at all, Jack?
No, I didn't make it that far. I was just, starting to investigate using it for that purpose because, I was going to build my own automated workflows. And I'm like, wow, using my computer, automatically would definitely, right, takes the workload off yourself to do it. So it's having a true researcher that can actually launch those operations and come back with a detailed report that's actually actionable, right? So I was just at that stage when I saw this, and then I saw that they were giving out I don't know, whatever it is, coupon codes or something last night, and I tried to get a hold of some because it seems to, at least appears on the surface, maybe bypass what you just brought up, which are these, potentially astonishing feeds, like sort of like what OpenAI wants in the background to use some of their stuff. And it's a way to, even if temporarily, experiment with it at where you don't have to pay any exorbitant fees to find out, can you truly leverage some workflows that could bring advantage for yourself as a startup, for example. I'd be interested in hearing more from, our space about those kind of processes and steps to do that. So, as you and Andy talk to people, those are the opportunities for the people just starting out to figure out how to get their feet on the ground as it moves so quickly.
Absolutely. And Jack, just to I did you ask me for that business intel app that I created at Tech in Schools? Was it you? Because I couldn't.
I did.
Okay, perfect. Because I'm having some issues with
Yeah.
that, but I'm going to get that to you now that I know it is you. Because I did at the time. I was kind of engrossed, and I couldn't tell who I was talking to. Um,
Yeah, no worries. I know you're doing a lot all at once, which is kind of awesome watching you guys just take off, man. I mean, your space is really starting to bring in all the top talent, all around. It's pretty cool. And my background is very similar to yours, but not on the marketing side. Mine's on the engineering side with compliance management for automation and robotics companies on the OEM side. And I do business development for our company, the company that I work for. And the workflow that you were working on is very similar to what I do in-house. So what I was offering to do for you is act as a beta tester to say, yeah, this makes sense. This is the kind of workflow and plan that I put together for our company. And here it is. And I was going to share that with you so you could see a comparison between the two.
We're gonna get together on that because that's super cool. And one thing that I went down the rabbit hole. So I created an AI agent that will go scour the internet, go to Reddit forums and all this stuff because I was looking to do some market research to find out what's a blue ocean where there's lots of concerns and where there's nothing really out there that's addressing those concerns in a way that's satisfied, like a blue ocean type of market. And
Yeah. So
go on.
to that point, John, could Manus do all of that work for you, right? Do it all from start to finish and come back with actionable intel and actually do the research on your computer without you having to lift a finger,
Well,
right? That's kind of, to me, a question.
I've been able to do that successfully through my AI tutor in those workflows. By
Wait. Hold on a second. Can we step back for a sec? Jack, you're talking about like uh, predictive searching and researching, information sharing and data extraction from whatever various sources, like like text complete is currently doing, where you're typing a sentence and it predicts what the rest of the sentence is. Are you talking about we're going through like a search journey by either inside of a chat bot where we're having a threaded conversation with a logical thought pattern, or searching through things or watching a set of videos? And you're saying that AI would then not just do like the algorithmic prediction of what we think the next video would be, but also what the next set of research topics and where to go to find that. Is that kind of what you were saying?
That is exactly what I'm saying, and that is exactly what they're promoting Manus as being capable of doing. It's using reasoning to take the next logical research step and find out the stuff that you didn't think to ask for, right? To come back with a complete comprehensive solution to your essential initial request and then some.
but
Yeah, I kind of like that, but I also kind of interested in that. I mean, I'd love, first of all, I believe that there's always stuff, there are questions I don't know to ask. And that part I think is unbelievably valuable. But I also don't want them to then curate what I'm being fed based on my information, because just because I don't know doesn't mean that's the thing I'm looking for. But okay, fine. I'm willing
That's a
to
fair
take.
point.
I'm willing to take that, though. I'm willing to take the. You can, you want to for me to buy everything that's red, so you only give me red things from now on. That's cool. I get that, but I'm gonna eventually go. Hey, what about the blue ones and the green ones and the yellow ones and the brown ones and the black ones and whatever, right? So using dumb colored
Yeah,
as an example.
I think from a creativity standpoint, look, let's face it, some of us have a lot of experience in our industries and we're experts perhaps, but there's always something to learn. And so what happens is on these journeys is you still learn things as you go along. And when you do, you start to take that knowledge and then apply that on top of your skill set, right? So to your point, exactly. I think, it's kind of like window shopping. It's like, oh, gee, that might be good too. Maybe I should try those shoes with this jacket, and you end up buying them. That's where I see some of the advantage of this. And then if it literally takes the workload off the individual to then, okay, now I'm going to go pick up my tools and go do my own research to add to my blue ocean strategy, for example. If it does that, on its own, it just gets you further down the line. Doesn't take away your skill set or your need to maybe put all the final pieces together, but it may quite potentially give you things you've never thought of.
Yeah, it's John. We'll get back to you in a second. I have one more thought here. The a very specific and documented part of human nature is desire. And the most effective way to create desire in anyone is to let them see something they don't have. When they see it, they decide they like it, and then they decide they want it. When they decide they want it, then they decide emotionally they want it. Then logically they start to justify the steps necessary to get it. That is human nature 101. Okay, I don't care what you're talking about selling or providing or showing or sharing or engaging people in. That is the method that always is the way humans work. Okay, and so it's interesting that you need to see something like window shopping as your example, or see some other things so that it can algorithmically show you the next thing, which will then of course inspire that or promote that desire within you, which then you then turn to logic to justify your actions, and result is you either acquire, purchase, or gain that thing somehow. That's just normal. I think it's kind of fascinating that now the algorithms are working for and utilizing, specifically targeting that particular common human behavior. Right? We don't it's like, and I've used this example in the past. Nobody has to tell you when you're hungry. They can say we have food. You're like, yeah, I'm not really that hungry. Um, but if you're starving, they can say, "Here's a brand new boat." You're like, "Yeah, I want a hamburger. I want some fries. I want some food." No one has to tell you they're hungry. There's no app that goes, "Ding, it's time for your consumption. Eat lunch now." Right? There's no app there. Nobody has that app everywhere, but everybody has an app that will wake you up from sleeping because we have to wake up at a certain time, or when your thing is due, or create a schedule so that you can pick up your kids on time or make it to this event on time or whatever. We have lots of apps that manage that part of human behavior. We don't have any apps that say, uh, here's when you need to eat next. Here's when you need to drink next. Those are natural human responses. And it's ironic that the algorithm is now trying to specifically target that visual desire. And of course, desire comes from the lack of something, right? Desire is not because you have too many, you want another one. It's it's a perceived lack of something. I've got three of them, but this one's a green one. That one's the red one. I want the blue one. Right. That kind of behavior is being targeted by all of these systems. And so when there's an algorithmic drive to the next step, that's what's going on there. Anyway, I'll get off the stage now. Back to John.
Okay. Yeah. So one thing that you're talking about, Jack, and I get all that from Grok 3 right now, so I can go down a rabbit hole on any topic. It seems that the difference with Magus is that it can be agentic. In other words, you can, well, multiple things based on what you're doing and what I'm doing. You want to constantly look at the competition. So you could, I guess, in theory, create an agent that scours the internet for all the competitors that are, searching the search term that your client or your business is in, and then find out what they're doing, if there's changes, and that you're informed, and then how to adjust your online uh, profile based on their changes. And you imagine if all of a sudden every business online has that, what is going to happen to because what are all the sites going to be changing at the speed of light, trying to bid each other? I mean, of course it'll take a while for this type of thing to saturate within business class. From my experience right now, very, very, very few businesses are using these types of tools, but and it's a pretty small percentage, but that's something that we could see. But yeah, I mean, I can get all of these things done that Magus talks about through chat through Grok 3 or through Claude Sonnet 3.7 or through Perplexity. It just takes the actual physical, putting the prompt in, and because of some of the really outstanding people that have come to the show, my prompt level has really gone up to the charts. I'm going to pat myself on the back and brag a little bit. This weekend, I have a client. She's prosthodontist with a PhD, and she was always very adamant about creating her own content. But now I've got an agent that this is a small room, so I'll say it here. I've crawled all of her all of her comments on the internet from clients, and I put it in and then I put in like the competitors, and then the other style, and then I interview them as well, and the copy that comes out is insane because it goes into such amazing detail about everything, and then it'll pull in the reviews right at the right place, and it makes this content that the only thing that she changed was you're changed your to you are, and will to we will, and that was it. And just totally blown away. And now that I've got this, uh, since they're prosthodontists, they deal with all kinds of facial stuff, cancer, car accidents, birth defects, and has a, a team of specialists that they work with with patients. And so I'm working to start to show them the whole team, because the more business comes in from any of these people in these teams, the better it is for everybody. But it's just really off the charts. But the thing is also with this Magus is that you know you still have to have some there. I believe, I don't know if it will um be able to replace human creativity and human thought, because I don't know if Magus would figure out to take all those data points and put them together. And then when I asked Magus about some blue ocean business ideas, it came up with them. But I don't know if everybody else that's asking AI about blue ocean business ideas, if they're all getting the same answer. So we don't know exactly where these things are delete are differing from one another, so there's an outcome that's more interesting. And I see that Danielle's here. Danielle's going to be our guest tomorrow, which is super exciting, and Sanan's here, and Jack, and Obondu. So do you want continue to go through this, or Jack or Andy, do you want to say anything or have any
No,
questions?
I think it's let's just keep going. But I love you know, every day there's a new thing. And if you're listening to the recording, you need to keep coming and keep listening, keep showing up on this, on this AI and business show, because the AI Biz Hour is where we bring the latest and greatest to you. We bring the people who are on the front edge, people who are doing the development, people who are using these tools in ways you haven't imagined yet, people who are making money, people who are building new things. This is the cutting edge of AI in business utilization. You want to go get on the AI biz hours and talk to people, and they're going to talk about how this is cool and that's cool. Yeah, but we're focusing on how you can take these hammers and build cool stuff with them, right? Because technology is just a hammer. You can use it to make things or break things, but we're talking about how we can use these things to help benefit you, help your company, help your staff, help all of your resources, help all your clients, help them become more successful and more inventive and more interesting and more capable and all of those awesome things. So that's what that's what we're here for. So yeah, let's just keep going. We got about 15 minutes or so until I have it to drop off, but yeah, let's keep going with the news. And that, I love the fact that some people keep joining.
Well, yeah, I'm going on X right now, and so it shows that there's only two spaces. So I sent some links to this to Sana and some other people. And so, yeah, today is just kind of a big cluster on X. It's being attacked, and that's probably why the numbers are so down. But it doesn't matter because the people that are here are awesome, and it's I'm having fun. So reviews, expert opinions. So there's another criticism about that, about certain things about Magnus. Research. It compiles reports rivaling human analysis, such as 20-page market analysis. Yeah, I mean, any of these AI LLM, any of these LLMs can do that. Some much better than others. I think that Grok 3 is and Claude Sonnet 3.7 are the best about doing any of these things so far, but I haven't used Magus yet. What people are building with Magus: automated business solutions. Startups are integrating Magus into customer service bots, handling 90% of inquiries autonomously. I'm sure that there's a lot of things going sideways with that kind of.
Yeah.
Professional productivity tools. Developers have created Magnus based apps for task management, like a vacation planner syncing with Google Calendar. Educational tools. Early experiments include AI tutors that adopt lessons to student needs, piloted in Chinese schools. And creative projects. Artists use Magus to generate music scores, digital art, and other user showcasing an AI composed symphony on YouTube. So you can look at the Magus AI composed symphony on YouTube. That's pretty interesting. And how to use and set up Magus. So this is something I'm very interested in. I think all of us, we want to play with this. So to get access, Magus has an invitation-only web preview. Visit Monica's website, Monica AI. Ah, okay. So I went to Magus and I put in my email, but I haven't heard back from them. So now I know to go to Monica AI because that's not where I went.
Well,
So I'm going to
let's
put
put
in
that
the
put
purple.
that in the purple pill so everybody can get to it. We can all go
Yeah,
use that invite to get access
yeah.
or request it.
Grok 3 is like I never go to Google anymore. Setup: create an account, register with an email and password, Magus platform, choose a plan. Subscription details are forthcoming, but a free tier and a premium option, $20 to $100 a month, are expected. Initial setup: follow prompts to define your AI agent goals. Um, so this isn't running locally on your computer, and to me that has some issues. Tool integration: connect Magus to tools like Google Drive, Slack, and other APIs. So that could be an extra cost. Usage: interact via natural language, plan a trip to Paris, analyze earnings. Magus processes requests autonomously, delivering results via email, web interface, or integrated platforms. So you set the AI up with it. Additional notes: further plans. Monica plans a public rollout in April of 2025 and intends to open source Magus. That's a big deal, enabling developers to customize it. Be interested what the token costs are. Limitations: such some report it struggles with highly specialized tasks, such as quantum physics simulations, and its energy use is under scrutiny. Any thoughts on that? And does anybody have any questions or want to add anything to this discussion?
Yeah,
Oh,
first, just a couple quick things. First, it's Manus. There's no G, Manus, Manus. I know you got the dyslexia thing going, so that's cool. But it's Manus AI, Manus AI. You keep saying Magnus, and I keep thinking it's like Magnus Ericsson, like it's a chess system. But okay, fine. That's pretty funny. Manus, Manus. The second thing is, it sounds like a whole lot of marketing hype. I mean, how many people do they have on there that they can say things like 93% of customer call centers, it's creating this, it's create. Okay, so they have a bunch of use cases, they ran it through a test set, they put up a bunch of cool things, but does it have, huge amounts of engagement like Chat GPT or Grok? I mean, so if you just look at total numbers of utilization, Copilot has the most because somebody will click something and they're calling every one of their um, Predictive text and spell check, part of Copilot. So they say they're the best. Gemini says it's the best because it's integrated with Google search. But in reality, Chat GPT got more users in the shortest period of time ever in the history of anything ever. And so they ended up with like 100 million users in, like 2 weeks or some crazy number. But the rest of the Manus, I mean, what's the engagement? What's the penetration rate on the total AI utilization they have? Is there 25 million people using it, or is it just
Well, it's available.
250,000 people who have just signed up today in the last week or the last few
It's
days?
it's available in China, so I would
Okay,
imagine
well,
that
it's still
that's
valid. That's still valid, right? So here's the question though: if it's a Chinese LLM and it's is that Chinese language based LLM and now it's being translated to English, or is it native English LLM translated to Chinese that then they're using? You know what I mean? I don't know the guts of it, and frankly, that kind of brings up a second idea, which is if if you create a Chinese LLM using Chinese language to start with, and then you're using some kind of uh, interpolation, because interpretation means that you're extracting the same thing in one language to the next one. Interpolation means that you're capturing the essence of what's being said, and you're then using a different language to interpolate what's being done because there's no direct word for word, language for language, sentence for sentence translation, which is true in Chinese and English because grammar structure, verb usage, noun usage, they're all different in Chinese than they are in English. And so you have language challenges and you have an interpolation happening. The the Star Trek Universal Translator translates what they mean, not what they say. If you get that right, so that we don't really care what we say, right? If Shannon speaks to us in Serbian, cool. I'll kind of get sort of what he's saying, not really, right? I will not get the context. I will not get the subtext or the connotation or the implication of the words he's using. I may understand the words because that's the first level of interpretation is just taking my English brain and hearing the Serbian words and translating them into English, putting them into my grammar so that I can then extract what I think he means. That interpolation is what happens. So I really am fascinated by if it's a Chinese company with a Chinese LLM, was it written and built and designed in Chinese using Chinese grammar, structure, context, and then how that's being used in English? It's a fascinating thing, and I know we've talked about it in the past. I think we're going to talk about it a million times more. And plus, just to be, super obvious, the reason Latin is still a language today is because Latin does not change. Latin is Latin. The same Latin that you could have read in the 1400s is the exact same Latin you can read today. And it will have the same meaning today. That's why they use the Latin words for all of defining, you know, uh, types of animals and subtypes of animals. Okay, there's a cat. We have a big cat called a lion, and we have a bigger cat called a tiger, but it's in a different place. And we have cheetahs and jaguars and panthers and house cats. To be, obviously there's hundreds of other types of cats, but they're all felines. The reason that we use Latin is because Latin doesn't change. The grammar doesn't change. The context doesn't change. The syntax doesn't change. Every other language on earth changes. Latin doesn't change. The closest one I've found, and I could be wrong, but the closest one I found is Turkish, and that kind of forgive me, someone else will help me remember that particular strain or that particular type of language structures, but the root is the same. You know what? I think Harsh talked about this in Sanskrit, the same kind of thing. The root is the same, but the pretext and the subtext, the prefix and the suffix on it, those put in the connotation and that um, how the word house is being used. It's my house, it's their house, it's the house, it's that house. It's the, oh God, don't go there house. It's still just in Sanskrit and many languages, house is just house. And then depending on what you put in front of it or after it and combine those things together, gives it the rest of the word. English, we do a poor job at that kind of word. My example is by a modifier in front of the word house. We don't change the word house. The best we do is houses. There's multiple houses we're talking about, a neighborhood, houses. But we will put those modifiers as another word in front of it. So we need the context of the sentence to capture the essence of what we're trying to communicate. Other languages, you can do that by just using the word with the add-ons in front or behind. And so Chinese is similar to that because each word is function. And then I just see Timo joined. Finnish is a whole giant whole set of those same kind of um, incremental differences based on the language, the way that they use the suffixes and the prefixes and the words in
Excellent.
language. Yeah, so it. I really think the LLMs, which are natural language processing programming by using natural language, really is going to be defined by the language you use and constrained by the language you use as your prompting language.
Excellent, excellent. I've got to leave pretty
Okay.
soon too. Sam's got his hand up. I
Oh,
want to get to
well,
him
yeah, let's go to
before.
Sannon.
Hey, John, Andy, Daniel, Jack, Timo, Jason, Manak, Eduardo, Odumodu. What's up, guys? How you doing? I like what you said, Andy. I have recent experience with Chinese tech. So I purchased their phone Xiaomi, which comes from China, and they send or they do products bilingual, English and Mandarin, China. I Googled on this. I got into the Xiaomi community asking some people there, like if this is the case and everything. So that's how it rolls. I also tried to get on a phone Xiao AI, which is not available here in Europe because of the policies and stuff and everything. But I've received a feedback from people that the version is both Chinese and English. I tested a little bit DeepSeek, so when I prompted in English, I was returned English answers. When I prompted in Bosnian, Italian, and German, it was giving me some Chinese returns. And NLP or natural language processing usually goes on top of the LLM. That's a slightly different thing. Um, LLM is literally like clustering all of the data that is input, and then NLP is mostly used for the conversational elements. But I think with all of the capabilities we have now with the tech, language barrier is literally like not anymore there. Like you can use your, I don't know, whichever app and just talk to your phone and it will translate and vice versa.
Yeah, I understand that. What I was trying to make, well, maybe poorly, my thought was using the language by definition as the core has various types of constraints is a good way to put it, or um, easier pathways to get to certain kinds of answers in various languages, right? And so, just by definition, using a different language will produce a biased kind of result. But bias is the wrong. I maybe somebody can figure out a better way to say it. But if you speak in German, you're going to have a natural kind of progression of logical thought because of the language and the way that you can use the language. If you're speaking in Serbian or Turkish or Slavic languages, or if you're speaking in to Romance languages, French or Italian, you're going to have a different kind. You're going to come to a different kind of conclusion just because of the way the language is constructed. If you're doing the same thing in English, you may come to a different kind of conclusion, and they may all be cake, right? We may say we're going to do desserts. We're all going to be, but it might end up being a different type of cake, a big cake, a cupcake, a little one. I'm using a dumb example because I love languages. I find them fascinating. I find human communication to be one of the most fascinating things in the world. And I know that the languages produce this kind of effect. I'm just saying that I'm aware of it. I know it happens in the LLMs. When you put in an answer in or you put in the same prompt in Chat GPT and in DeepSeek, you get a slightly nuanced answer. Maybe nuance is the best way to put it. You get a nuanced answer. They're both technically the same, but there is that the resonance, the implication, the way it sits with me is different. And I think that that difference is going to be amplified by coming up with more and more non-English language LLMs. That's really my only point. Not good or bad. And in fact, probably some of them are going to be better at certain types of tasks because of that language construct and nuance than it is in English. And we're going to find those over time. Absolutely, we're going to find them over time. I just wanted to make sure it was clear because it needs to be reiterated consistently. Because if you program in C sharp and then you program in Visual Basic and then you program it in Java, you may end up with the same type of thing, but the construct and the way it is in those programming languages is totally different. Management, organization, upkeep, support. Those are all massively different methodologies because you use different technologies to get there. The same thing is true in the LLMs because the underlying language, even if it's a translation piece, like Sanan was saying, you have core processing that does tokenized activities. Tokenized activities produce a tokenized response, but still has to be translated into whatever the prompting language was. And that you just remember that it's going to be true and it's going to impact us. So we're going to see it eventually.
Simon?
No, Andy was right. I was just thinking to add on what he was mentioning earlier. There is also correlation between the languages. For example, Slavic languages. My mother tongue language is Bosnian. I understand Russian. I understand Polish. I understand everything except Romanian, which is something between the Albanian
Yeah.
and
It's like
Italian.
Russian and Italian mixed together.
Yeah. And then, for example, I used to play in Italy. I do understand plenty of Spanish and French. I cannot say like a word, maybe greet people in the French and Spanish. But when I hear speaking, I can understand this stuff. So same like a German and English. Like for example, you have a door, and in German it's Tür, and then based on the sound, even it's written completely differently, you can through the context understand. And that's what I'm thinking, how these LLMs and NLPs are trying to squeeze in the differences, so it will always kind of sound, yeah, it is, that's the right thing to respond with.
It's also funny. My family is Norwegian, and I don't the same. I hear it. I'm kind of okay with it. But the funny thing is, when you have Danish people and Swedish people and people from Finland like Timo, and they try to, it's like everyone kind of speaks the same language, but if you look at the written part, it's like it sounds the same, but it's all spelled wrong. and but it's only spelled wrong from which lens you're using. And so anyway, it's I again, I am massively fascinated by languages and human communication. Language is just a part of that because music is a part of that, language is a part of it, tone, effort, uh, emotion, and all of the frequencies we use, the pacing, the sound, the volume. All of these are using our voice as an instrument to share what our thought is to other people. And to me, that is the core fascinating part of human existence. And anyway, I appreciate that. And I think LLMs are just a natural progression in capturing that kind of thing. I think eventually, yeah, we will have a translator that you can, like Star Trek, and just you talk, they hear what they want to hear in their language, in their context, and you will hear what you want to hear in your language, in your context, and it will reduce the fact that you need to learn the other languages. But I still think you should attempt to learn other languages as a way of becoming more effective as a communicator. Anyway, I'm gonna have to go, but I love these conversations. Thanks for joining and listening, and thanks, John.
Thank you, Andy. And I've got to run pretty soon too. I'll do another 7 minutes until 10 after. I apologize, everyone. I just got a bunch to do today. Timo, how are you? And congratulations. Timo's father just had his 80th birthday. He posted a video. It just seems like seems like a lot of people showed up for your dad's birthday. That's you got a very wealthy family with all those people showing up.
Yeah, it's what it is when you have a musician. Well, my entire family except me is pretty much into music or professional musician.
You're doing coding, so math, it's the same thing.
Yeah, so just a quick one. Did you guys turn the time? Like, did you go to the summertime already?
Yes.
All these
Yeah,
days.
today.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm like,
yesterday.
what the hell is happening? Every space is like hour early, so I just figured.
Yes. U.S. time changed yesterday at midnight.
All right,
Yeah,
we're gonna
I
be
totally
doing that
lost
later.
it totally screwed with me yesterday, the savings time.
Yeah, yeah. This was the only space that was actually there's. I think there's a DDoS going on against X, so all the other spaces out there were just like silent. Nothing was happening in them, and
Well, the
X
first,
has been buggy.
yeah, the first 20 minutes, it was just John and I. Nobody even joined. So, or we had no.
Yeah,
Jack joined. Jack was on, and then but nobody else. So crazy.
yeah. But just to what Andy was saying, yeah, Finnish. We don't have any prefixes, and we just juggle the end of the word differently. So depending if it's something is not or maybe not or maybe and in, out, on, all those are going to be there. If it's theirs, yours, mine, all those are just gonna change the end of the word. So that's why Finnish is all the LLMs are struggling hard, except the one that Silo AI. That was a Finnish LLM. They built Turku NLP and Poro AI, which is a reindeer AI model that is native Finnish, but AMD bought it. So now that millionaire or billionaire is just producing AI professors into universities in here. So maybe you are accelerating, but yeah, Finnish language is a struggle point for most of the American LLMs. And it's funny how the cultural difference is like, even though I think DeepSeek is like carbon copy of one of the OpenAI models, if you ask about starting a business in Asia, it actually gives you a pretty different kind of answers that you would get from just ChatGPT, because it has some cultural references in there. So all the business advice that Grok and whichever American LLM you're talking about is, all the business advice is just like American business advice. So you have to specifically ask for a European way or Asian way or whatever. So it's interesting. But yeah, language has a lot to do with this cultural thing, and all the Nordics, except Finnish, are Germanic, like what Sanin was saying, tier and door, and in Swedish it's dörren, in Finnish it's ovi, which is like zero reference point. But but Andy's name is, I would say, Verdegal, but or Vergedal, but it's because we roll the R's here in the Nordics. But yeah, it's an interesting thing to
Yeah.
follow up on how these go.
And in Norwegian, it's Verkedal.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not a Norwegian speaker, so but we have a bilingual. So Swedish is our second language, and everyone has to learn it. So 5% of the population is native Swedish speakers. So all the public service needs to be in Finnish and Swedish. But LLMs are going to be kicking that in. That's going to be awesome.
So have you've played around with creating prompts that are in English and that are in Swedish, and do you find that like what is the difference? And I haven't done that. I mean, when I do market research, I ask for it to scroll LinkedIn and Reddit and stuff, but I didn't say keep it within the bounds of the United States in terms of the replies or something like that. But that'll be fun to play with, to say, imagine this request coming in China or coming in Indonesia or what have you, to see what the effects are. I haven't played around with that. What have you done it, the Timo?
Yeah, I've asked. So I work for the security authority that does licensing also. So I've asked ChatGPT in Finnish, how would you apply for a license that we give out? So it's pretty good. It has read our website, and and it's obviously working as well as possible. But what it does, it still translates the Finnish into English, then does the thinking and does the answering in English, and then translates it back into Finnish. And there is obviously more room for error, and the specifically in Finnish, where like I said, one word could have like 200 endings, depending on how it's used and what's happening. Uh, it might kind of miss the point, so you do have to like help it around if it's just totally lost on what it is. But that's why I do pretty much all my prompting. When I try to achieve something, I do prompting in English. But if I'm testing new models or whatever, I'm always running tests in Finnish. It works okay, but you get better answers in English.
So when finished, you'll find that the output will be something that you're totally not the objective. And when you do that, when you do the prompts, are you stating your actual goal in the prompt, and then an example of it, or is it more of a simple prompt that you're playing around with Finnish language?
I'm doing both. I'm just like, for instance, I would say, how would you apply for this license in Finland? And then it does its best thing. But if I give it more like context around it, then it does a better job. But obviously, it's just like tapping into the website data and basically just doing its best to answer. But yeah, they're getting better. They're a lot better than the early versions already. So like somebody said on one of the AI spaces, why do these European countries even try? Because the English versions are so good that they have already eaten up all the internet, so it doesn't matter. But the nuances in the language, they can still do dumb mistakes. But if you just do the same prompt in English, it gives you a slightly better answer. But the cultural problem is, well, it's not a problem, but you have to understand that most of the content it eats, most of the fine tuning it has been gone through is for American population. So there's a lot of cultural references that you can see. Okay, this is just straight up USA stuff. So for that reason, you can't really like prompt like build me a business in Finland. It's gonna be quite lost because of different legislation and what you have to do. It's not aware of it all. But one day, I hope it will.
Have you done the research to find out like what percentage of Finland's population, like, are Finnish only on the internet, and other countries in the EU, or and like, based on your work, on the work that you do you really have to understand user behavior, or is that part of your purview, or is it simply just coding?
As for what our customers are, they're mainly highly educated people, so it's not like an issue. They know how to fill in forms, but I don't know. I guess well, English is like, let's say from Gen X, which I represent. We already started studying English on third grade, and Swedish is mandatory from fifth grade onwards. And nowadays, all my kids started their English. My youngest one started on first grade, and she does her school in Swedish just for the hell of it. And my three other kids, they started their English in second grade. So it's every all the, let's say from 50 to younger are really pretty fluent in English.
Wow, second grade, that's wild. Sanan.
Oh, just to add on what Timo said, like Europe is in generally super segregated. Banal example from my experience. So, WhatsApp in German is "wir geht's?" I've said this in Austria, no one understood me. So I explained that's what's up in German. Oh, yeah, that same thing I said in a Zug in Zurich. People didn't understood me. So the LLMs that are coming, let's say outside of the Europe, I think they have a barrier of the regulation on the privacy and stuff, but also on the contextualization what's available on the website. So if website is providing the English language, probably it can travel and pull out the information and do so. Um, One downfall of Mistral, which was like par with the ChatGPT and Gemini when they started and everything, was actually that. But if you will prompt it in French, believe me, it's at the same level where the US or Chinese LLMs are. And that's what they literally build for the friends. Of course, people are using it globally, but it cannot get the traction because of the marketing and all of these obstacles that are coming in between, including the language barriers and then the more contextualization of the language, how it's used and everything. And then you have um, I don't know, formal language, informal language, and everything that goes in, slangs and so on and so on. So that's the big thing. Another case regarding the language, I recently did have an issue in Frankfurt. I submitted paper in English, I speak American English, and the paper was returned to me because I need to write in European Union official language, which is international language. I thought it was the Irish because they stayed in European Union, which was not. And for the first time in my life, 3 weeks ago, I've heard of the European international type of English, where you hire somebody who, I don't know, instead of, I cannot now remember the word in American English. In this international English is something different. So that's also another key part of the for the European segregation, and for our kids um, that learn, they have English as a mandatory. It's mostly British, but I think that British influence is losing traction. And then you can choose, I think in a fifth grade, between the French and the German, which are two largely spoken English languages in Europe. But still, there is a segregation even in these languages. And for example, in Germany, I was in Berlin, and they speak, I'd say, the most clean German. But then when you go to Munich, they have like Minha, Minka, Munich, Minsha. And let's say if you want to say I am, I've learned to say ich bin. Then if I will go to Westphalia, the Dortmund area, and they will say ich bin. And then you have the another segregation, which is ich bin, and so on and so on. These differences are really, I think, huge problems for any non-European LLM to really process it. And another political thing, I think, an economical thing. Sorry for me extending on this. Just want to give like a larger perspective on how Europe is really weird. Um, Last summer, I spoke for my company in Frankfurt with the German minister of startups and funding and fund for funding them. So, dude literally gave me a list of 30 startups to offer them investment, and we did have lunch. Very interesting, like long 2 hours meeting. Um, their policy, national policy, is this: if you build a startup, there is way much better way for you to be funded by the government, from 5 to 30,000 euros. Let's say it's equivalent to USD. If you don't want to do that, you want to go to private lenders in Germany, or you want to bootstrap. The moment you accept foreign money, you're literally becoming the competitor to the government. And most of the stuff are funded through the different funds and stuff by the government. And very few of the startups in Germany are accepting, let's say, to be funded by the foreign VC or investor or whomever. So from this political aspect all the way like to the language aspect, and like considering LLM being there, I think that all of the information what Timo was referring to and saying is, if a website has, let's say, English translation, that's what it can pull out. If doesn't, then more complexity, it is getting into more complex environment, sort of say. Sorry for this monologue. Just wanted to bring in more context.
No,
Yeah,
no,
here
that's
yeah. Sorry, John. Here we have the government. If you do a startup, the government has this called start money, and you get like, I think it's 15 or 20K, or it used to be 10K, but I think they entered it up a bit. So you get like just like free money. You have to eventually pay it back at some point, but if you go bankrupt, it's just gonna be forgiven to you through the bankruptcy, and taxpayers are gonna love to pay it. But yeah, there's all kinds of weird things. Different nations do their thing here, but yeah, Mistral, I've heard the newest model is should be pretty good, on par, even better at some European stuff compared to the American LLMs. But Le Chat, what the hell is that branding? Come on, nobody wants to use it, or it's a meme. I don't know, but anyways, uh, John, you. Sorry for cutting you off.
no, no. And I see that Shannon has his hand up. And after Shannon, I really do have to run. I pushed it further than I can. But this is such an interesting conversation. These are large language models. So language means so much. And what Andy was saying, the difference between word for word translation and understanding the meaning and the subtleties, and what you were saying, Shannon, in terms of the various changes in the language based on geographic location, dialects, what have you. And you can see, different outputs just with different LLMs. It's especially, I would imagine, and Shannon, if you could touch on this point, that if you were making an LLM or an agent and some type of uh, product that's dealing with the outside world, can this just, shoot your fees up all over the place because people, it's not understanding what someone's saying from a rural dialect in Germany, and it's kind of not usable.
So, if I would be creating like LLM like this, I would be focused on US solely. Like I wouldn't even consider the rest of the world. Another problem, for example, I was living in Varese, which is North Italy, and when we were guesting down south in Italy, I didn't understood a single word. Single word. People were talking to me. I was literally, I don't know. I have no clue what they were telling me. Just banal example. So in North Italy, let's say Bologna and upper, for beer, you will say bira. In South, they say brr. And they're like removing so many letters and then they're adding some stuff. I don't know even explain it in any language I speak. It's so weird. Uh, if you're not from down there, you have zero chances to understand it. Like literally zero chances to understand it. Similar thing happens in Switzerland also. Um, the problem the problem in terms of the languages for LLM, I think the US is the best place. That's why most of the Europeans going to US. That's why most of the people from the around the world are going to US. Market is enormous. It's super huge. 386 million people. Like imagine that. That's so massive. And another big problem of Europe itself is uh, people do not speak that often a second language or English. My experience in Spain when we were looking to buy house was that no one spoke English. I literally asked dude in Madrid to help me out with something. I was looking at the Google Maps and he was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry, I don't speak any English." And I was like, "What the fuck? You just in perfect English told me like you don't speak English." And I was very curious and Google it and spoke with some people. Spaniards are the nation with the population of least speakers of foreign language. And then in contrary on the north, like Swedish literally speak like fluently English, like it's like you're in England in US. I also met a lot of people from Denmark and from the Norway who speak like English perfectly, like zero accent. And that's another problem of the Europe itself. I don't think it's a good market because of the traditional and heritage values they have here. Um, and that's something interesting. Like in Italy, people do speak English, but it's not that common. But they're friendly. They will help you out. They will show you, like they will even draw things for you on a piece of paper how you need to find stuff. Even they don't speak. If you go to France, no way. Like then if you try to speak French, they will literally tell you, "Oh, your French sucks," and this kind of the thing. So in terms of the building, let's say LLM, either you go to China or you go to US. Like anything in between is uh, a lot of money being thrown down the river, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. It's gonna take me about half an hour to get where I gotta go, so I'm gonna try driving and see if this will continue because I'm enjoying this conversation. Because I mean, this is so profound. In China, there's multiple dialects throughout China. China has such a huge population, but it sounds to me like what you're saying that it's really going. I was watching the news last night, and someone was saying because everybody likes conspiracy theories and hypes and everything that this Uber cabal was planning to make sure that everybody doesn't have a job in 2 days and AI is going to take over everything and everyone's going to like live on the street and eat crickets or what have you. But it sounds to me like there's some major hurdles to implement these things, especially if voice bot's going to be the big thing with AI. Yeah, I'd love to hear your point. I guess you told it, Shannon, but Timo, what would you like to add to this conversation? Because that really limits the possibilities of things, especially when you go to cultures with multiple dialects. And I mean, maybe these AI LLMs in the next 3 to 5 years will move so fast that they'll be able to understand any dialect, or just understand you from your breathing. I don't know. But what are your thoughts, Timo? Are you there, Timo? All right, we're having some problems with X today. I guess they were hit by a big I don't know what. But Sana, if you want to add to that, if nobody has anything to say, then I guess I will just close up, and I won't try to do this in the car, but we'll see. Timo, are you there? All right. Okay. Well, I guess this is it for the day. Shannon, do you want to add anything to this, or I mean, I would love to hear your idea about, if what does that mean if the world's going to be AI driven and everything, but what does that mean to places that have very, I know in India there's a lot of very unique dialects in certain areas and even languages. Um, what does that mean? That the idea that we're going to have this Uber AI over the whole world is impossible until everybody speaks English? I'm just curious if anybody has any thoughts on that.
I think it's not going to be big problem in terms for the English speakers. So and all of these, like, Europe economy is super fascinating. I was like, for the last 3 years, how much I've spent here, I was like literally frustrated every single day, with so many different different things that at first looked to me like super difficult, like super difficult. But then I really gave it a chance to understand all of it. So, for example, Switzerland is way much more innovative than the US. If you go and check the most innovative countries, Switzerland is number one. So what Switzerland is doing, they produce, let's say, in a French-speaking cantonal region, and then they are testing it in Italian, they're testing it in a German. And they're a very small country with very huge amounts of cash. So they don't need to go to Germany, Italy, or anywhere else. Germany is trying to copy this. And what's happening is that people, let's say doctors, being like cheaply schooled in Germany, and they go pursue their careers in Switzerland. Now, having this in mind, that you have slight barrier in English, let's say if you're going from Germany to German-speaking French area, you will make way much more money than going to US. And that's how Europeans are usually circulating. Then you have very huge hubs of tech and startups like Berlin, Pagi, Barcelona, where everything is in English. But when you want to use this stuff and you want to like run this stuff, it's in the languages, let's say, from where it comes. Antibes is Alexandria, I think is his name, or something like that. The largest tech park in Europe, near Antibes. It's like Silicon Valley on steroids, but very few people knows about it. Even in Europe, you have all of these pharmacies, all of the tech from Europe, everything that is developed there. But you have a buyer from Germany. They speak German there. I came speaking English. They were like, "Oh, guten Tag, Herr, this and that," and I was like, "What?" And then they realized when I started speaking, "Oh, you're speaking English. Where are you from?" And then I tell, okay, I'm coming from Bosnia, I'm coming from Germany or whatever. And they're like, why are you not speaking German if you're coming from Germany? Even they see based on the accent that I'm not German. And that's the how Europe works. In terms like of global scale, I don't see the problem with India like with Europe. in India, English is a formal language. They have this Indian type of the English, and Google is literally building there. Apple is building there. So I don't see them as an obstacle, and that's why people think Europe is not developing. Europe is passive. Europe is behind. It actually is not. The 99.9% of European economy are small businesses. And in terms of small business in Europe versus small business in the US, in Europe it's measured by how many people you employ. In US it's measured by the amount you make. Now comparing the average salaries to some of the countries, smaller business seems to be larger than US small to medium business by 1/3 in comparison, which is like super crazy. And Europeans are just not interested in this I think global race in things like, oh, let's build an LLM, let's build this, let's build that, because they own CERN, and CERN is literally like physics, internet, almost everything that the rest of us, the rest of the world is hyped on, actually is owned by Europeans. And that's like super weird climate sort of say. But very interesting and very cool. Like Timo said, if your business fails here, you will have a hard time to raise money again to start new one, but the government will forgive it. In some circumstances, you will be obligated to pay something back, but it's like nothing compared to, like, let's say in US, if you fail, like if you fail down like 100 millions, you are doomed 100 millions. Like no one is going to help you. In Europe, you will have the options. Even the VCs are working. Like it took me a year to understand VCs in Europe. Oh, we are funded by this, we are funded by that, the investors, this and that, blah, blah, blah. But then the Europe functions, and this is something I spoke with Azu the other day. The Europe functions, like if you want to understand the entire Europe, Europe functions based on the 3 circles. Top of the circle are politicians. Below the circle are the top businessmen. And the third, the lowest circle are incoming businessmen or politicians. If you get into that network, you can have the best life you can imagine. But it's super hard. It's super hard to get there. So if they decide one of these 3 circles to change things in terms of the, let's say, language, that the American English is standard, it may happen. If not, they will still be producing stuff for themselves.
I'm driving now, and so I'm going through an area that I might drop out, but we'll see. I'm just curious to do to get to get that type of financial support in Europe. Do you have to pass a certificate or have a college degree, or like what's the barrier to get that money to start a startup?
So usually you degree is mandatory. So one of the things that it really was pissing me off and was bothering me, everyone in Europe, they have like first last name and then MSCC, PhD, like engineer or whatever of this stuff. Like titles are very important, but this also like shows the commitment. People are like very educated in terms of the degrees and stuff. You don't have to have degree to, let's say, ask money from the government, but you need to have a proof. Like you need to come with a business model. Same thing like you will come to the VC or, let's say, in the US, how we are doing it. And they will give the money to you. If you're educated, that's a plus. And also you have this sort of the points in European companies. The more people you have that are highly educated, more points you get, and government is happy to give you more money. So there are the cycles, let's say, through the year where you can submit application to the grant, and even your multi-million-dollar company, they will give you some cash. And then the good thing I really love is, for example, if you are employing disabled individuals, government is covering for you like every single expense, everything you need for that individual, they're covering it. Of course, some people are abusing this in many countries, but that's very very cool stuff to see that they really are trying to integrate everyone in whatever they're doing. Oh, did I rugged or